Welcome to a new piece of test equipment, the Sencore TVA92, which is a companion piece to my Sencore VG91, which you've seen me use for several years now to generate test patterns. Now, I've already unboxed this and played around with it a little bit because when I first got it, it wouldn't do anything. I plugged it in and, well, first issue, no power switch. When I plugged it in, nothing happened. Nothing lit up, and the knobs didn't do anything. And I kind of suspected that would be the case because I'd heard, primarily from Shango66, who also has one of these, that you need a cable. You can't use it standalone. And yes, that is absolutely the case. I didn't get the cable. I kind of took a gamble because it looked like it was in such good condition, and often on eBay, I've had good luck when the seller says selling as is because we don't know what it is, we don't know how to test it. Buyer beware. Well, that often is the case. I mean, how many people would know how to use this? And if you don't have the cable and you don't have the other piece, you can't do anything with it. And that turned out to be the case. It's in beautiful condition. Looks like it's basically never been used. There's some slight scuffs up front. It's got a sticker on it. The front of it is absolutely pristine. I did get one key cable that would be tough to replace if I didn't, because it's a weird one. This is the ringer load test cable. Plugs into that. I do not have this connector, this plug. I don't know what that would be. It's strange looking. Now, this is newer gear, and Shango already warned me that this seems to work better with transistor solid-state stuff. But it does do up to 300 volts peak to peak on some of the key signals, so we'll see what it can do. We'll see what it can do. Basically, between these two pieces, it's replacing my, what was it? A VA62, something like that. A video analyzer. Mine died years ago. And that's why I got the VG91. I always meant to get one of these. It just, the stars did not line up, or the planets didn't line up until now. Anyway, so I'll get to it. So it was missing a cable. It turns out the cable was just a DB15, just straight through with the shielding on the outside. I just got a D15 male to male, straight through connector. It works fine. So what does this do? So this generates test patterns. Circle, grid, color bars, all that good stuff. And audio tones and multi-burst and stereo stuff. This generates the drive signals. Horizontal sync pulse, vertical sync pulse, and you can do pretty significant levels. They have three ranges, 3 volts peak to peak, 30 and 300. And then there's a variable level. Also, handy for the project it's sitting on, which I'll talk about in a separate video, has a variable power supply, 0 to 30 volts, 1 amp. You can also get a color burst and blanking drive output. I think you can attach a high voltage probe, which I do not have, and use this for a voltmeter. The display on here can monitor various things, like when you're in the variable DC power supply mode, you can see what voltage you have on the output, you can see how much current it's drawing. Apparently when you're in the audio video drive, we'll find out, maybe it'll tell us how many volts peak to peak it's putting out. You can also ring yokes and flybacks, but I've been warned this works better with lower impedance solid state stuff than the antique stuff. We shall see. And that doesn't surprise me. I have other yoke ringers, and you rarely see me use one because, well, luckily I haven't needed to, but also they don't seem to work very well for the types of flybacks I work with. Now, before I use this and hook it up to something, I thought I would grab a scope and at least look at the output signals to make sure that it's doing what I think it should be doing before I was damaging the equipment or the TV. These are both plugged in, so let's turn this on. You hear some relays clicking, that turned on, and this turned on. Let's do some simple stuff. So let's look at the DC bias supply, and I vary this knob. This worked earlier. What am I doing wrong? Well, that's curious. I turned it off and back on, and now it seems to be working. So 0 and up to 30. It's interesting you hear relays click. I assume that's a relay changing the voltage divider string on the panel meter. It's not backlit, which is kind of annoying. We'll make it work. So you can display the bias volts, see how much current is being drawn, which should be 0. Audio, video drive. Let's see, so I'm on the 30 volt range. 30 volts peak to peak. Okay. So I want to check out vertical sync pulse, horizontal sync pulse, both of them together, and video, because I want to try injecting all those signals into this mech set, and I also want to try this to drive the tuner. I'll do that in a separate video, but before I do that I want to check out what those signals look like using my handy dandy 454A Tektronix scope. And I'll get a tripod so I stop making you guys seasick. Rather than constantly moving the camera back and forth, I'm just going to keep it pointed at the scope. I'll describe what function settings I'm using. First up, the output of the TVA are banana jacks. I have those going to 2 alligator connectors. It's floating ground. I'm going to do ground to ground on my scope, and then this is the output that's going to the positive on my scope. So first let's do composite video. Now they have Mts Composite and one called video. I'll have to look up in the manual and see what the difference is. We'll start with Mts Composite. Well, we're not seeing anything. Or is it just very low level? Oh. Didn't expect to see a sine wave. I just turned up the level. Kind of seems like we're getting audio out. It might look more like a video signal. That's a video signal. Alright, that's the audio output mode. Yes, that looks like audio. Mts Composite. Huh, maybe that's stereo audio composite mode of some sort. Maybe that is correct. Looks like it might be frequency modulated a little or something. Well, we don't care about that. We're going to video. Yes, that very much looks like a video signal. And as I change the test pattern on the VG91, yes, it is changing. Cool. Yeah, it looks very clean and very hum-free. Very nice sync pulses. And yeah, let's go up to the highest range. Yeah, boy, you can get some pretty significant amplitude out of it. Oh, that's why I was getting so confused. Alright, I am going to move the camera now because that's a neat feature. I had the knob halfway up and I thought I would get like 50% of the range on the output. I was getting nothing until I moved this, and I realized, oh, that's how they do polarity. That is 0 level out. If you go to the left, you get an inverted video signal. If you go to the right, you get a positive video signal. Well, that's very cool. You need that because when you're injecting a video signal, typically as it goes through each stage of amplification, the signal gets inverted, so you may very well need a positive sync or negative sync depending on where you're injecting it. So right now we have 0, and now I'm going to the positive, and notice we have sync pulses at the bottom. Let's go the other way. Now they're at the top. Very nice, very nice. Alright, now what I was curious about, so that's composite video, that looks perfect. Let's try, this is chroma. I don't know what that is. That's the vertical and horizontal sync. Yes, it's just sync pulses, no video info. So if we bypass the sync separator in a set and inject this signal and use the test pattern going to the video out of the VG91, you should get perfect synchronization. That's what I want to see. This would be just vertical sync. Yep. And vertical drive. So you get a ramp. Okay. So you could theoretically like drive a yoke directly from that. Horizontal drive. Be much higher frequency, but that's square wave. Well, just put it in the highest voltage mode. I don't know if I want to put that into a tube flyback. Anyways, here's the horizontal sync pulse. Alright, cool. And hum free. So again, if we inject this into this Mts TV, which is giving me fits because it's got a ripple on, we think, on the horizontal sync, and it's making it have a wavy test pattern horizontally. If we inject this, well, let's see what happens. I'm liking this device so far. It's doing exactly what I got it for. And you can't ask for much more than that. Turn that noisy scope off. Alright, I will just describe the rest of what this can do as best as I understand it. I believe it does have a mode, if you have the right probe, where you can test high voltage, just a high voltage voltmeter. You can drive at least the vertical yoke output, 50 volts up to 1 amp. Something I hope to never need to do. And then ringing. What is ringing? Ringing ideally can detect if there's an internal short somewhere in a yoke or a flyback, or just more generally speaking, a transformer. How does it do that? It pings it with a pulse. And if everything is good, it should resonate, and you should get decaying pulses out of it. If there's a short, it's going to affect that. It's going to affect the coil's ability to store energy, and you won't get that nice decaying pattern. You're going to get something less efficient, so you get fewer rings, fewer pulses. That's what the ringing refers to. It's like hitting a tuning fork, and it rings at the natural resonant frequency. So if I ever suspect a yoke or a flyback, theoretically I could hook it up to this and do the ringing test, and you should get a certain number of rings if it's good. The rest of it has to do with substituting drive signals for directly driving a flyback or a yoke, vertical and horizontal. And then finally this dynamic test. I am not entirely sure what that does. It looks like something pretty serious, and I do not have the probe, so I don't think I'll be doing it anytime soon. But the stuff I care about all seems to be working perfectly. Fantastic. That's going to wrap up this video. If you find yourself the opportunity to get a TVA92, they very often are missing that cable. It's just a DB15 straight through. I got one for like $5 on Amazon. It works perfectly. Be looking for the next installment of the mech where I will actually be using this device. Thanks for watching.